Booby.
But speaking of boobies, I mean, speaking of other news and complications in the NFL, I mean, where do we begin with the whole Deshaun Watson thing? I mean,
I don't
it's
know anymore.
it's just been a whole roller coaster of like this man is not playing for the next couple of years. To when I was with you last, I'm pretty sure it was him getting the fattest contract that
Yes.
he did not deserve, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, he's a elite quarterback, top 10 quarterback in the league, even though he was out, he's been out for the past year. But it's just I'm pretty sure it's up to what 26, 28 lawsuits now
It's
of more.
26 right now, and there's supposedly more coming because I was listening to something this morning that was saying that basically if they made it to March of 2023, not that they would have been in the clear, but it would have been a lot less of an issue. Um, but yeah, so like I think so. The thing that I actually failed to write in this is a couple weeks ago, Deshaun's lawyer Rusty Hardin goes on this. It was something like a 30 for 30. He went on something and basically said it is not illegal to have a happy ending to like at the end of a massage, and everyone's like, what? Like it went from like proclaiming his innocence to now it's just not illegal. So that interview, and I'm really not remembering what he was on specifically, inspired these women to come forward, which is great because again, for what it's worth, and we have said this multiple times, he's obviously a trash human being.
Oh
Like
yeah,
like you said, he got a $230 million guaranteed contract, most in NFL history. It's absolutely disgusting, and supposedly the Brown. I mean, I wonder if the Browns didn't see this coming. The new allegations, and then following that, the New York Times article that went public probably a little less than a week ago now, written by Jenny Vrentas, which stated that Deshaun met with 66 women for massages over a 17-month period, which is way more than anyone thought. And you have to think probably not all of them, which is gross.
yeah.
66 women in
He's
a
clearly
less
got
than a
some.
year and a half.
He's clearly got some fetish, some addiction. And I'm pretty sure the funny thing about it is, I feel like any girlfriend, if they found out about this, they'd hit
He has
the.
one right now.
I'm saying they'd hit the door running and be like, "This is cheating. This is unacceptable." But unless she's hanging around for the money, or unless she just thinks she can fix him, it doesn't make any sense. He's a sick human being. I guess technically, like you said, when you get into like a massage room, and you wear like just a robe or whatever, and like technically, I think you can be naked, but
You can be naked.
most people aren't.
They ask you
But,
usually.
but
You have to be.
you're not allowed to touch them, kind of like at a
Oh,
strip club. Yeah, I don't know if that's the same thing, but
that's not the same thing.
usually you're not allowed to touch the masseuse. And I'm sure, I could be wrong because I don't know all the details, but he probably just whipped out a bunch of money because that's what he can do. And I don't know if any of it was forceful or not. I haven't looked that deeply in depth into it, but there's definitely got to be some kind of law being broken here.
It's just it's so mind blowing. So the further details were that allegedly, and this is according to Jenny Vrentas, the Texans actually helped him and giving him like non disclosure agreements and making the appointments, which is crazy.
Wow.
Um, it's not normal for a athlete to have more than a couple massage therapists because their body is their job and their livelihood. So it's like it just doesn't add up. Like, but yeah, it's just again. I mean, I know we talked about this so long ago now, but we
Yeah.
bring it back to the Calvin Ridley situation, who got suspended immediately for gambling while he was not on the field or participating or at the facility.
Yeah.
And it really just is like, why hasn't he gotten suspended yet? It's crazy. He should absolutely be suspended the whole year, I think, maybe more. who was it? Trevor Bauer who got suspended for 2 years or something like that in the MLB.
Yeah, well, that was for raping women. I'm pretty sure.
I mean, I'm just saying, like,
That's
not
very different.
it's not the same, but it's still sexual assault,
Yeah,
and it should not be taken lightly. And the fact that there are this many allegations and they haven't even put him on paid leave, like he's still at the
yeah.
Browns facility, is crazy.
I don't even know if they can do this, but to be like, you're not allowed to play until this is all figured out.
They can
But
put him on the exempt list, and that would do that.
yeah. So two questions stemming from this. One, where does Baker Mayfield play into this, and what do you think is going through his head? And two, what do you think in terms of fantasy? Because I don't know if that question could be answered in terms of a redraft league until we know what happens. But say come, August time for fantasy owners to start drafting in leagues, and this still isn't resolved. Do you stash him as a very like last pick just to have him on your bench in case he does play, or is it not even worth the risk?
I think in a redraft league, I still wouldn't do it. I don't think it's worth it. If you know for sure he's playing, sure. But this isn't like a DeAndre Hopkins where like it's a PED suspension, so you know it's 6 games and he's coming back, right? Like he could get suspended at any point, and then it's just a waste of a roster spot, waste of a draft pick, and again, like I mean, you can't feel good about that. Like you can't feel good about hitting the draft button on this guy.
Yeah. I've seen some videos on Twitter, and I'm sure you've seen them too, where in practice he just hasn't looked good. And I actually had that worry. I was like, as good as he was on his last year with the Texans, he was out for a whole year. So you can't he's still got so much talent, but you can't expect him to come in and just be, blowing up the field. But
yeah, I mean, like purely from a NFL perspective, he's definitely, in my opinion, a top 5 quarterback when healthy, when playing. But like you said, like, and there's just too many question marks for me to be willing to take a risk on him. And I actually talked about this, and you guys will see this come out at some point, the Dynasty startup strategy video. But I did talk about Deshaun Watson at one point, and like, you can look at if you're doing so. I talked about what's called the productive struggle, which is basically selling in your first year and picking up on assets that might deliver like the following year, such as like a Calvin Ridley because he's suspended this year. Deshaun Watson will fall into that category almost definitely. But I just can't get behind Deshaun Watson. I just think he's. And did you listen to the ESPN interview when he came on? Whenever that was, maybe 2 days ago.
I did not.
He just like sounds guilty. Like you could tell that. So this is the first time he's been made public to the media in a little while, and he just sounds guilty.
I think he's 100% guilty. It's just a matter of like, what crime did he commit and what's the penalty for it?
Yeah, like in one of the questions, which I'm glad they asked him, because it was his typical spiel of like, my lawyer is going to answer blah 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 blah, direct questions to my lawyer if I can't answer them. And they asked him like, what are your thoughts on the 66 women that the New York Times article came out with? Do you think that number is correct? And he was just like, I don't think so. And it's like, what do you mean you don't think so? And then of course,
maybe it was 66.
Yeah, he's like 67. And he caught himself, of course, and he goes, but please direct the questions to the lawyer. But it's like, what do you mean you don't think so? 66 women in less than a year and a half? I mean, Jesus, fuck. Excuse my language.
Yeah.
My God. Anyway, to go back to your other question, though. What Baker's part of this? I think Baker is going to be done. I think he's like kind of a baby. Like, I think he's done in a Browns uniform.
I hope so too.
And I mean, like this story has been picking up about how the Panthers are going to trade for him, which, we'll see. If that happens, that will be hilarious because on top of the fact that they'll have the number 1 and number 3 picks of that year for Sam Darnold and Baker, who both did not work out. Then they also have the Robbie Anderson thing, which is hilarious because Robbie Anderson came out publicly and said, "I do not want Baker as my quarterback."
Yeah.
So it would be great if they end up teammates.
I hope he doesn't throw him the football once.
Well,
But
Sam Darnold doesn't.
yeah, and it's just a shame because it's funny. I'd like to see how many people once the Browns got Deshaun threw on them to win the division. I'm pretty sure the Browns became immediate favorites to win that division, but they still have so much talent. Like I don't care who the quarterback is, you could just give it to Chubb and Kareem Hunt 50 times a game, and Amari Cooper still has so much talent. So they do have talent on that team. They have a good defense, but
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting to see the quarterback situation if Deshaun Watson is suspended for the season. Baker Mayfield, who doesn't probably want to play another snap for the Browns if they get rid of him. It's going to be interesting to see who their quarterback will be.
Well, let me ask you a question. If you know that Deshaun gets suspended, let's say Deshaun gets suspended 8 games. I don't know how realistic that is, but let's just say it. Eight games he gets suspended, and you know it before the season begins. How high do you draft Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt? How high do you draft Amari Cooper, knowing that it will be Jacoby Brissett almost definitely throwing him the football for the first 8 weeks of the season? And how would that change your perception of them?
Well, I don't want to give you my fantasy strategies because I'm coming back with vengeance this year.
I'm winning this year, I swear.
Yeah,
One year I will win.
It's an interesting question because Nick Chubb has always been a no later than a maybe 3rd round pick at most. He's usually a 2nd round pick. He's still got so much talent. With Jacoby Brissett, they're going to be giving him the ball even more, which brings up maybe potential injury concerns because I don't know when the last time was that Nick Chubb played a full season.
True. 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, but he's still going to be a 3rd round pick at the least. He still has so much value. I've never been a big fan of teams that have 2 running backs because it's kind of like a split carries thing, and it kind of alternates because there's games where Chubb goes off for 30 fantasy points, and then there's weeks where Kareem Hunt goes off for 30 fantasy points, especially in PPR leagues. So I still think they're like Nick Chubb's a RB1. I really don't consider Kareem Hunt anything more than a flex play. He still has so much talent, but he's not someone who I'm relying on week in and week out. And then with Amari Cooper, there's a reason he got traded. I still think
5th round pick.
Yeah, 5th round pick. I still think he has so much talent, and he's going to get targets. But if without Deshaun Watson, he's not going to be getting the ball like he wants to.
I think so too.
I know they have what's the one guy's name?
They have some decent secondary options.
Yeah, who's the guy with the 2 last names? Who's a deep threat on the Browns?
Donovan Peoples-Jones.
Yeah, Peoples-Jones.
He's solid.
DPJ. He's solid, but Amari Cooper's not somebody who I consider anything more than a wide receiver 3 because we do 3 wide receivers. He's not someone I'm trusting to really be an elite wide receiver this year.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think with Deshaun, I think I'd probably look at him differently.
Yeah, maybe a wide receiver 2, but Amari Cooper really hasn't, even last year he didn't do anything special. He hasn't really balled out in a couple of years, but he still has so much talent.
He's such a good route runner.
Yeah, that's the thing. But it'll be interesting to see how he does this year. I'm interested to see what goes on in Dallas. I think they're just going to be a dumpster fire this year.
Me too. But I hope so, at least.
Yeah, but we'll just have to see.